selling too cheap. To be honest with you, most investors sell too cheap. Most of them. Most of them. Uh, One reason they sell too cheap is that they don't look up the real comps and they don't keep up with the times. If I sell a house in an area, I sell it for more than what it's worth. Guess which one I'm going to use for a comp the next time I'm in that area? The one I just sold. I create my own comps by selling for more than what they're worth. Right? But most investors will underprice their houses when they're selling them, which sometimes with some of the rehabs I've seen, they probably need to underprice it because it really ain't ready to sell yet. And so they just underprice it and they just lose the money. And reality is they never know they lost it. So they don't go to bed worrying about it. They just never know they lost it. You need to be smarter than that by determining the real ARV and then raising the price based on what you see. All right. I don't have some formula for you to raise the price. If it's a nice house and it's in a nice neighborhood and it's a somewhat of a heated market, raise that sucker. You might get as high as 10% more than what the appraiser would say it is worth, what the ARV would say it is worth. Most of the time you won't get that much, but at least 5%. At least 5%. Raise the price at least 5%. And incidentally, when you do that, didn't you just create the money to pay a realtor? Well, you're not paying a realtor if you're selling on terms, though. But if I sell it for cash, I'm going to raise the price above the ARV. And so the realtor, in fact, really don't cost me anything. I never sell a house for what it's worth. I sell it for what it's about to be worth. And if the buyer and I agree on that number, then that's what it's worth. What a buyer will pay determines the value, not what some appraiser says it's worth. And if that buyer is going to the bank and get a loan, I won't be the one selling to them anyway, because that's not who I sell to. So in reality, when I raise the price on a house that I'm selling on terms, no matter what it'll appraise for, nobody's going to get it appraised. And the people buying it really don't even know how to analyze what it's really worth. And then when you get all through with that, it doesn't matter what it's really worth because they don't care. They're getting the keys to a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood that they're not going to get because they can't qualify for the bank. And don't you ever let it get out of your head that that's who you're catering to. Don't let the realtor market of qualified buyers influence what you're doing in the other market of non-qualified buyers. In fact, it could be said that if they can't qualify for a loan, that they must pay more. But trust me when I tell you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter on the cash out houses if, in fact, your house is really ready to sell. If I'm renovating the cash out, my house is one of the nicest ones on the block and has the wow effect, and so should yours. Therefore, you have the right to raise the price at least 5%. The buyers will pay more. The appraisals will appraise it higher. I don't need anybody's permission to raise my price. And if I'm hiring a realtor to sell a house, they're certainly going to squawk. So it's going to come down to, do you want to sell the house or you want me to get somebody else? Because you're not going to talk me into lowering the price. See, what I've learned over all these years that most realtors don't even know is that lowering the price is not what makes people buy. They're buying on the emotional appeal of the house. A few $1,000s less don't make much difference on their payment, and that's not going to stop them from buying. They buy on emotions. So you have to learn to appeal to their emotions. Not hard to do, but that means you have to renovate it right if you're going to renovate it, not half-ass it like many investors do and cover up stuff. And there's no need for all of that in this industry. Why don't you, if you're going to renovate a house, renovate it like you would expect to be renovated if you were buying it. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you're going to put all the best of the best stuff in there because you're not going to like the end result if you do that. But you can make that house really, really nice by putting some nice stuff in it that ain't the highest price stuff on the market. On terms deals, I've raised the price since the first one I've ever bought. The very first time I put a lease option tenant buyer in a house, I raised the price. And I quickly learned price doesn't matter. Now, I've been sitting here talking about raising the price all this time, but in reality, 90% of them don't buy anyway, so what difference does it make? We are catering to that 70% that can't qualify at a bank. And by the way, that's probably going to get worse going forward. I mean, it's pretty obvious. If the interest rates are going up like they are, more people can't qualify. And if the inflation is going up like it is, more people can't qualify because they'll be spending more out than they're accustomed to doing. And incidentally, the government says, I don't know, last time I looked, I think they said it was 8 something percent inflation. What a load of crock that is. That is an absolute crock. You show me one item that you're buying today that isn't 25% priced higher than the same item just 1 year ago. So where this 8% comes from, I have no idea. Uh, I guess they use the MSU plan. That's make shit up. That's all we're looking for, the people with the money and the people who can afford to make the payment that they've just said they can afford. And yet we do check them out. We check them out to the extent that we just find out what their income. We get a short application and I send it off to letscreenthetenant.com. Do thing and get their information and check. Remember, they do the they're going to check their credit report. They're going to get a background search and a Megan's Law search, and they're also going to let's see, credit report, Megan's Law search, background search, which is all I need anyway. And then they'll give you a debt to income ratio as well, so you can see. So in other words, if somebody says they can pay you $2,000 a month for the house, and you see they only make $3,000 a month, you can't put them in the house. They can't afford the house. They're getting overwhelmed with the emotion of getting another house, and they're setting themselves up for a problem. They're absolutely going to fail. You can't spend 2/3 of your income on a house. And of course, if they had other income, they'd be telling me that by now. So I'm not going to let them set themselves up for fail. In fact, the lower price house you're selling, the lower percentage of their income you should be at for them to be able to afford it. Your FHA standard is about 41%. Now that's 41% of their gross income, which includes their new projected payment and all the other things that are on their credit report, like car payment and any other payments that they have. Shouldn't exceed any other payments that they have that is on their credit report, including child support. We shouldn't exceed 41% of their gross income. Now that's gross income. So in other words, taxes are going to even get taken out of that. So they don't have 59% left over to play with. So they're living on a very slim margin on a lower price house if their debt ratio is 50%. And, unless they can convince me that they got some other stuff going on coming in on the side, maybe that they're not reporting, I'm not going to let them in the house and create a mess. Now, I said that. So here comes somebody with $30,000 down and wants to go into my $200,000 house. I'm probably going to take them. Okay. So a big down payment overrides a low cash flow, because I have to assume they got something going on the side they're not telling me about to create more money. But if I can see that's not true, I'd rather turn them down. Now, the higher price house I'm selling, obviously, the more money they got coming in. If I'm using a 50% cash flow ratio for somebody that's making $6,000 a month, and 3 of it goes to their house, well, they can live on $3,000 a month. So, I'll make that decision as we go. So I'm really interested in, what's their monthly income and how much can they put down? Those are the 2 most important questions I need good answers to. And if I don't get the right answers, then I'm not even going to give them the lockbox code to the house. There's no reason for me to send them out there. But I'm making the house easy to sell by making it easy to buy. Remember, they can't qualify. Nothing easier than a lease with an option to buy, and nothing quicker. Come in, see the house, let's meet. Okay, I accept you. Give me some money, and call the attorney. And I got a lease option tenant buyer. Can you close this thing day after tomorrow? Period. You sit down, you take the lease option agreement out, and you go down the list, and you put the answers in the blanks down in an email. You send the email to your closing attorney, and they fill out the lease option agreement. Now, first one, you need to send them mine. And if they want to add something to it, great. But look, that's all they're doing. Then they add any disclaimers and disclosures on there, including the CYA letter out of my manual, and you don't even need to be there. In fact, if the tenant buyer lives in the city where the house is, then I'd like for them to go see the attorney face to face. But if they don't, they can do it all virtual. The attorney will get on the telephone with them. And, there's some things that you must get in the process here. You can't just be stupid about this. I want a copy of their driver's license, and I'd like to see something to show me that they're actually getting the income that they say they're getting. And there's a list. There's a checklist in your manual that you want to go over. And then we have my down payment assistance program, which I'm not going to talk much about now, but that's where I get them to pay a monthly payment toward their down payment over and above what they've already said they could pay. It's free money. Okay. It's free money. And there's a whole one-page agreement in there for that as well. So no banks, poor credit okay, no time delay, instant occupancy. And now I'm giving them, I usually give people 2 years. I honestly don't want to give them more than that, but they don't ever really ask for that. And they all come, they all think they can get everything fixed in that amount of time. Some of them think within a year. They could get it fixed within a year, easy. I mean, literally, screenattendant.com will clean up raise one's credit score 100 points in 6 months. Okay, that's probably going to get anybody approved for a loan. So I give them more than enough to get the job done. But I don't want to give them more than 2 years, because if they're not tenants that I want around later, I want the right to boot them out. I've never had to do that. But, longer term I give them, the longer term I'm obligated to collect their rent. So 2 years is more than enough. And especially in times like we just came through, where the values are going up so much, they go a long ways in 2 years. So if they haven't bought in 2 years, they're not going to buy anyway. But again, I don't move them out, but their options expired. So if they ever do get around to buying, it's a totally new negotiation. Price is irrelevant to these buyers. I'm telling you, it is irrelevant. So, but Ron, I know they're going to argue about the price. Well, I don't know. I doubt it. But what if they do? Well, if the tenant says, well, I think that price is a little high, and I will say, well, perhaps this isn't the house for you. Maybe you should go down the street and get another one that you don't have to go to the bank and qualify for, that you get to live in for 2 years before you decide if you want to buy it or not. But the price is the price. So will that work for you or not? Offense, not defense. You're the toll gate. Pay the toll or turn around. And we truly are providing a public service, and I mean that sincerely. Where else? How else are these people going to get in a home that they have the right to buy and control? And it is a unilateral agreement. They control it. I don't. They have the right to buy it. I can't take that right away from them as long as they're making those payments. So they're literally taking control of my house. So how else are people going to be able to qualify to get in a house if you don't give them in a position to do it now and have plenty of time to clean up whatever's broke? Look, they either got weak credit, or they got bad debt ratio, or they can't prove their income, or behind on child support, or I can't remember all the other things that keep them qualifying. But whatever any of that stuff is, they can fix it if they want to. Don't ask me why. Most of them don't do it. Lazy, I guess.